Good afternoon and welcome to Chantel Live, brought to you by Legal&Tax Services. My name is Dylan Berger and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Legal&Tax Services. On my right hand side we've got Chantel Premier, who is our Legal and Debt Manager.
Hi.
And together we are going to answer your questions regarding women's rights, especially now being Women's Month. They are very, very important. A lot of questions have come through already. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to post them. Share this video. If you have any comments, anything you want to add or contribute, please feel free to do so, and we will be answering your questions as we go along. All right. Okay, Chantel, how are you doing today?
I'm good, and I'm excited.
I'm also very excited. Very topical conversations we got here, and lots to go through.
Okay.
So, Chantel, now maternity leave, very, very common topic when it comes to women's rights.
Yes.
What does the law state in terms of how much maternity leave are women allowed to take?
Okay, so I'll try and be as brief as possible. If I can start with what laws apply, you would have to focus on the basic conditions of Employment Act and the Labour Relations Act. So women have about 4 months of maternity leave, but this is unfortunately unpaid. It's in the discretion of the employer to decide whether this 4 months will be paid or not. But in terms of the Act, it is unpaid, but you're entitled to 4 months.
Okay, so it's completely at the company's discretion whether the maternity leave is paid or unpaid?
Yes, it is, unfortunately.
All right.
And then in terms of when you take your maternity leave, many women would ask, when do you notify your employer? You have to notify him at least 4 weeks prior to that, and that's also when you can start taking your maternity leave. But if your midwife or your doctor prescribes you to take maternity leave earlier, then you can. If it's a medical situation, you can. And then in terms of when you come back from maternity leave, the Act does prescribe that you don't return within 6 weeks after birth for medical reasons, for your health, and obviously in terms of health and safety for the employer. So you don't have to be to go back within 6 weeks, even if your employer forces you.
So it's safe to say that it's very important to communicate with your employers during the whole process, from before the baby is born and obviously after the baby is born as well.
Yes, it has to. Look, obviously, if you have this discussion with you, there is some employers who use their discretions, but so it would be to your benefit to have that conversation with your employer.
Chantel, in the situation whereby a client has come back from maternity leave and they find that their job is no longer available and they've been replaced, what is the best process for them to follow?
Okay, so again, to refer to the Labour Relations Act, there's certain sections that protect women. So you're protected in terms of if you are dismissed during your maternity leave, or if you come back from maternity leave and all of a sudden you've been made redundant or moved to another position. In terms of the Labour Relations Act, if I can be specific and you want to use Professor Google, you can go to section 185 to 187 of the Labour Relations Act. It says that if a woman is dismissed unfairly, that means there's no valid reason. It might be in terms of discrimination for the pure reason of being pregnant or being on maternity leave, you dismissed or you made redundant. It's automatically unfair, and you can refer to the CCMA or the Labour Court. So you can force your employer to place you back in the same position.
I do hear that. We do have a question that just come through. We got from Mishka Naidu. She says, "Hi Chantel, would a mother still get maternity leave if they choose to adopt a newborn baby?" Very good question. Excellent question, actually. So, a mother adopts a child. How does it work in terms of maternity leave?
So there has been developments in terms of the Act, where the Act does now make provisions in terms of adoptive parents. It even makes provision for UIF, where you can now claim UIF for your adoptive child.
Wow.
Yes, it does. And there's certain rights that have been afforded to husbands, to fathers as well. So it's interesting. There's still some developments, but there are rights to adoptive parents.
Fantastic. Mishka, thank you very much for your question. Any other questions, please send them through. We are here to answer your questions regarding women's topics and legal rights regarding women. All right, moving forward. So many women go maternity leave. What is the process in terms of UIF? How does that work?
Okay, so to claim UIF, you have to obviously be employed.
Okay.
And you and your employer have to make contributions towards UIF. That's basically 1% from your side, or even more depending on the discretion of the employer. you can then go to any Department of Labour, depending on the area where you live, and you can claim UIF. There's been some developments where in the past you had to claim UIF within the first 6 months of having your child, but now you have about 12 months. There's been another development where in the past it used to be a certain rate according to your gross income, but now it's a flat rate of 66% of your gross income.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it does depend on the period that you've been employed. So obviously, if you've been working for 1 month, your contribution might be less, but if you've been working there for a few years, your contribution will increase.
Okay, so key points there. Obviously, UIF, you have to be employed first of all.
Yes.
Secondly is that your boss or your employer has to have made contributions towards the fund.
Yes. So they're obligated to make contributions.
Obligated,
your
okay.
employer,
Okay, good
but
to
the
know.
amount is in the discretion. So obviously, if your employer has to make 1% of your income, certain employers make more. Again, that's maybe a conversation that you can have with your employer to increase it.
So it goes back to the theme that you need
Yes.
constant communication between yourself and your employer throughout
Yes.
the process of your maternity.
Yes.
Okay. Now, many women go on maternity leave, and there's very often they have to have checkups.
Yes.
To go see the doctor, see their gynecologist, have regular checkups. How does that work when it comes to your leave, your sick leave, and your day-to-day running?
So I think to touch again on the relationship between you and your employer, you have to make sure that conversations are held with your employer, because time away from work is unfortunately not always paid. If you are, say, perhaps booked off by your doctor and you need time away because of medical reasons, then it would fall under sick leave. So in terms of time, just going for your normal scans or checkups, that you would have to discuss with the employee, because that's time away from work. Maybe you can negotiate to say, okay, I won't take a lunch break, or I'll come in earlier. But if you are booked off and it's due to sick or illness or anything related for medical reasons, then you would rely on your sick leave.
Okay.
So if you have sick leave, you would be able to take sick leave. If you don't, go and negotiate with your employer to go into annual leave. And if you don't have annual leave, then unfortunately it might become a situation where you're going to have to work in overtime, or it would be unpaid leave. But I just want to go back to the UIF. In terms of the new developments, again, regarding the UIF bill, you can now claim back some UIF if you've been booked off for 7 days or more in terms of the illness.
Okay.
So yes, you would have that financial support at the end of the day.
Okay, so just to recap, so we've spoken so far about maternity leave. It is 4 months.
Yes.
Whether you get paid or not, that is purely at the discretion of your employer.
Yes.
And also very important that you need to communicate with the employer throughout the whole process. Now, the UIF process, quite easy to follow. Make sure that you obviously contact your UIF office, closest one to you.
Yeah.
Okay, if anyone have any other questions regarding that topic, please comment, let us know so we can answer your questions for you. All right, moving on. Another topic that's very, very common is the rights of unmarried mothers. So a mother is not married to the child's father, and in terms of rights when it comes to maintenance, how does that work?
So if you are unmarried, then you would have a right to obviously claim maintenance towards the upkeep or to look after the child. It's vice versa actually now, where you can claim maintenance. That you would have to do at your local magistrate's court, where you can claim maintenance. It's basically where you go to court, you fill in a few documents, you would have to give financial information of yourself to say what are you earning, and in terms of what will you need to obviously look after the child, what amount do you actually need from the father. You would get a maintenance officer who would help you complete the documents, and then he would obviously take it from there to serve it on the father. And if you can't agree on an amount, then unfortunately it would land up in court, and the court would look at what is the basic needs of the child. What does the child need to have a dignified lifestyle? And so unfortunately it would come then to the court's discretion to decide on the amount. If the father doesn't pay, the women are again protected in that way, where the court does allow that the father eventually has a warrant of arrest issued for him. And there's been some developments regarding a maintenance order. So now, if you as a consumer don't pay your account, you list it on a credit bureau. It's the same with the maintenance orders. So if there's a maintenance order, not only can you be arrested because it's like contempt in court, but you get listed on the credit bureau as well. So if fathers don't pay maintenance, it means that going forward, if they do apply for new credit, they'll be blacklisted in that sense.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. Wow. I did not know that. I did not know that. That's very interesting. Be warned. Fathers are there. Okay. All right. And in terms of the age, I mean, is there an age limit in terms of how long you need to provide for the child?
So basically the act says that it's up until the age that a child is 18, so that's when you become a major, but also self-sufficient. So meaning that a child normally goes to varsity and they don't work after the age of 18, and sometimes they're still reliant on the mother and the father.
True, very true.
Then it's only up until age of 18 or when they're self-sufficient. So the only difference is that from the age of, say, an infant up to 18, the mother would be the one to go to court to apply for maintenance. Okay. As soon as you turn 18, it would be the child in their own personal capacity that would be they would go to court, they would fill in the documents, and they would personally be suing the father for maintenance.
Okay. Okay, and this is all enforced through the courts? All
enforced through the courts, yes. Okay.
So it's very important that you go through the right process and you speak to the right legal counsel, because you don't want to be misled in terms of where you need to go.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please send through your questions. We are here to answer them. Just a reminder about that. Okay. Right. We've spoken some great topics so far about maternity leave in terms of those rights, the rights of unmarried mothers. All right. Moving forward to some other questions that came through during the week. Okay. So there's a very common topic that comes up in terms of breastfeeding in the workplace. Now, many mothers are working 4 days. Days are long. They have careers of their own. Yeah. And how does it work in terms of the rights when it comes to breastfeeding in the workplace?
Okay, so if I can touch back on the automatic unfair dismissal if you are replaced or made redundant during your pregnancy. The acts have like a code of good practice. It's a code that the employer must follow, and that employers must obviously read to inform themselves about this. But you have a code of good practice on pregnancy as well. So this whole code is like a guideline in terms of what happens not only after your pregnancy and before, but also during. So there's many health risks where your employer has to accommodate you. But in terms of breastfeeding, so any woman who comes back from maternity leave, for the first 6 months after your child has been born, you have a right to 2 breaks to breastfeed.
Wow. Okay.
And those 2 breaks are 30 minutes.
2 30-minute breaks.
2 30-minute breaks. But this means it's 2 30-minute breaks on top of your lunch break. It doesn't mean that your employer says, okay, you have an hour, but you have to take that hour within your lunch hour.
So it's over and above that?
Yes, this is an added benefit and right in terms of the code of good practice. So it's very important that you go and Google or read the code of good practice on pregnancy.
Fantastic. We've got some brilliant questions coming through. Here's a question we got. It goes, hi Chantel, how long before my child's birth can you take leave? How long after the birth do you have to return back to work? Okay.
So we did
that's touched on maternity leave. Okay.
Yeah. So that was that you have to at least give 4 weeks prior notice before going on maternity leave. 4 weeks prior, then during your maternity leave, it's 4 months unpaid, and you don't have to return within the first 6 weeks.
First 6 weeks. Interesting. Yes. Very interesting. Okay. I hope that answers your question. We've got a brilliant question coming through here. It says, do you have to disclose in a job interview that you are pregnant? Now that is a fantastic question, because many people go for interviews, and it's, sometimes you feel that you may need to, but are you legally obliged to disclose that you're pregnant in a job interview?
Right. So we have the Labour Acts, which was the Basic Conditions of Employment Act and the Labour Relations Act. Now we have to touch on your constitutional right. So everyone knows that you have a right not to be discriminated against.
Absolutely.
So if you are going to dismiss me for the pure reason of being pregnant, then that is discrimination. So no, you don't have a legal obligation to tell your employer upon an interview or being appointed that you are pregnant, but I would maybe have that conversation with your employer. It would be a good start to a positive relationship.
Correct.
But if you do not want to, like I said, only prior to going on maternity leave, it's about 4 weeks notice.
4 weeks notice.
Yes.
It touches back on the theme of just communication.
Yes.
That the lines of communication need to be strong and clear between yourself and your employer from the get-go, from when you go for the interview, and in order to, as you said, to start a positive working relationship.
And that communication is important, because if I can go back to the code of good practice on pregnancy, these guidelines where your employer must accommodate you during your pregnancy. So if you're not going to communicate it to your employer, say you're working in a factory and you are exposed to certain chemicals.
True.
If your employer doesn't know you're pregnant and something happens to you, you can't go and claim all of a sudden from your employer because he did not know. So the only way that he's going to know how to accommodate you in terms of your working environment, your hours, and maybe the station where you are, is to communicate with them.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you. Okay, we've got some great questions. We've got another question coming through. We just spoke about this topic, but we are going to recap on this. This is, what are the legal rights for breastfeeding mothers in the workplace? So just a highlight. So it's you get 2 half-an-hour breaks.
Yes.
Over and above your lunch break.
Over and above, yes.
Okay.
In terms of where you breastfeed, we do get that question a lot.
Very good question. Very good question.
So the code is very vague in terms of what type of space your employer should create for you to breastfeed. There is an International Labour Organization which provides like guidelines in terms of what employers should do. But the only thing the Act says is that it needs to be private and clean.
Private and clean, okay.
And unfortunately,
Makes
that
sense.
might mean that the bathroom, or if you have an office that's locked, but there's no obligation on him to go and create a workstation or a private station for you, unfortunately.
Okay.
But there will be your conversation with your employer to accommodate you.
Okay.
Yes.
Very interesting, because many women have careers and they aren't able to take off the time, and now the law is there to protect them so they can make sure that they can provide for their child at the workplace. Great. Please, ladies and gentlemen, send through your questions. We are here to answer them. So just moving on to some other topics that do come up quite often in terms of women's rights. So I am going to touch on this topic about marriage. Okay, so many people get married.
Yes.
And what are the advantages for a woman, especially when it comes to marriage? In terms of this law, I got on my notes here, we've got something to do with the fact that the duty of support, maintenance after death.
Okay. So when we touch on the maintenance for the child in terms of an unmarried woman, then you would be able to claim maintenance for your child. If you are married, then it becomes a situation where if you are dependent on your husband, it's not only maintenance for your children, but it's maintenance for yourself as well.
Okay.
So basically, if you and I get married, I'll be asking you some money towards the children, but I'll also be asking you money towards myself. You call it basically rehabilitative maintenance. So I need some money from you to pay my rent or necessities in terms of food, or maybe I need to relocate. So the court will look at that for a certain period. But that's only for the period during which you are single. So once you do get engaged and you get married again, then that becomes the obligation of your new husband.
Okay, so as long as you're single, then that applies.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you're remarried, then
once you're remarried, then that means someone else, you're dependent on someone else, and they take over
the responsibility. That does make sense.
But they take over the responsibility as maintenance for yourself, but not your children. The right to maintenance for your children, that will never go away as long as the father is alive.
Makes perfect sense.
And just to touch on that, even if the father has passed away, you're also entitled to maintenance.
Really?
You can claim maintenance against his deceased estate.
Okay, we're going to get back to that topic. That's actually a very interesting point Chantel brings up. We've got another question that just came through. It says, does a mother have a right to bring their child to work? Very good question. Many women have maybe a single mother, yes. There's no one to look after the kid who's sick maybe, and they don't want to leave the kid at home, but they've got deadlines at work to meet. Are they allowed to bring the child to work? What are the...
So you have no legal right to that, and I think many employers won't agree to that. Just like an employer has obligation in terms of health and safety for each of their employees, there's lots of health and safety risks for a child. Especially if you're going to leave a child unattended, or you have someone who's not certified to look after the child. So no, you do not have a legal right to demand that.
Okay.
But this is a conversation you could have again with your employer and see if they could accommodate you in that way.
And is there any, you say your child were to come and if something were to go wrong, they were to maybe spill hot tea on themselves or hurt themselves in some way, is there any liability on the employer?
If the child gets hurt.
If the child were to get hurt in the work environment?
Well, I mean, if the child is brought to the work environment without the consent and knowledge of the employer, you're not going to be able to hold them accountable for that.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So ladies, unfortunately, if you have to bring the child to work, you have no right for that. You have to just communicate with the employer and bring it to their attention to make sure they can make the necessary arrangements for that.
Yes.
Okay, but moving back to what we were discussing before marriage, so we have our maintenance after death.
Yes.
And if you could just recap, how does that all work?
So if you go to court, then obviously you would claim against the father who is still alive. But if it becomes a situation where the father has passed away, once a person passes away, they leave like an estate.
Correct.
We call it a deceased estate. So basically everything that you have in terms of your assets or a pension fund or your last salary in your bank account, all of this gets taken into account, and executors obviously appointed.
Makes sense.
But if you as a mother, you go to the master of the high court and you go and apply for maintenance, then basically it can turn into a situation just like the maintenance court, where a monthly contribution will be made towards the child. So the mother would do that on behalf of the child up until the age of 18, and once the child is 18 and older, then they can apply directly to the master's fund.
Okay.
They call it a guardian's fund. So basically the High Court and the Master of the High Court is the upper guardian of all minor children. So that's why they call it a guardian's fund.
Amazing. There's a lot of rights to protect your children, and that's what we're here to help with, making sure that you know what the rights are so that we can help you enforce them and that you don't get misled in any sort of way. Just a reminder again, if you have any question, maybe after this live chat is finished, you can feel free to message us at info@legal&tax.co.za, or you can call us on 0860 587 587. Or alternatively, you can send us a message via our Facebook page, and we will get back to you as well if you have any other questions that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to ask or only comes to mind later on. All right, so we had some brilliant topics so far. We've spoken about maternity leave, we've spoken about the rights of unmarried women, we've spoken about rights in terms of marriage, and about also breastfeeding in the workplace. Now, it's a very hard topic to bring up because it's very topical at the moment. We're dealing with this in the news, is women abuse. Many cases are coming to the public attention of women being abused, people being subjected to domestic violence.
Yes.
Now, it's not a pleasant topic to discuss.
Very sensitive.
A very sensitive topic, but it's very important for women to know what their rights are and how to approach these matters and make sure that the laws are on their side and they can make best advantage of the legal structures we have in this country.
Yeah.
So, a woman has been a victim of women abuse and been in an abusive relationship. What is the best way for them to report these matters? And what's the best way for them to go about in terms of the legal framework?
So any form of abuse would basically fall under the Criminal Act. And if someone has contravened the Criminal Act, you have to go to the police station, you open a case, and they'll open a docket. But I do understand that many women feel uncomfortable in doing this.
Absolutely.
For various reasons. But I think that's why it's so important to maybe educate yourself on all the the non-profitable organizations. Like one of the ones that we support is Power.
Absolutely.
So it's good to actually familiarize you with that. That's a support structure where you basically have more of a support in terms of a woman supporting you. That would be a lady who would go to the police station. She would guide you in terms of what you should do, where to report it. It's just someone to hold your hand if you do not feel like you want to go to the police station on your own. In terms of our clients, we have a very, very good product which we call Trauma Assist. So if you're not sure where to go, you need someone to talk to, then we have an option where our clients can phone in, even if it's like to speak to someone anonymously and see whether we can help them with that.
Fantastic. We are going to speak about that Trauma Assist product a little bit later. We have a question that came through. It says, hi Chantel, if a woman goes through a traumatic experience, like a miscarriage, what are your responsibilities as an employer in terms of trauma counseling? Very, very good question.
Very good.
It's an unfortunate event that does happen. What are the rights in terms of giving the person leave from compassionate leave? How best are we able to deal with these situations?
So if you do have a miscarriage, another development within the UIF is that if you lose your child within the last trimester, you can also claim UIF benefits, just as if you would have claimed if your child was born naturally and alive. So you have the UIF benefit in terms of that. You also have the maternity leave for that.
Okay.
If you do obviously miscarriage or your child is a stillborn, you still have the benefit of the leave. But when it comes to the trauma counseling, there's no obligation on your employer to maybe refer you for some trauma counseling in terms of that. Just when it comes to maybe the leave, and the UIF wouldn't fall on your employer, that would fall on the Department of Labor. So for you to get any professional help other than that, it would be in the discretion of the employer to pay for that, to offer that, but there's no legal obligation on them to do that. If there was maybe a situation where the miscarriage was due to an employer not accommodating you in terms of the code of good practice, then it would become a different situation. Then it would become a situation where you can hold your employer financially responsible for any damages, and that would damages be financial loss or emotional.
Very, very interesting. That is a fantastic question. The theme has come up a couple of times now about trauma counseling and assist with counseling and that kind of stuff. We are very lucky at Legal&Tax. We offer a product called Trauma Assist. Chantel did touch on it. It offers our clients the access to a trauma counselor should they be involved in a traumatic event. All they need to do is press a panic button, which is connected to their phone, and a crisis manager will call them back within 90 seconds and refer them to a trauma counselor who will assist them further. You do get cover for that of up to 10,000 Rand per annum. And it's a wonderful service to have. It's available on many of our products. Please look at our website for more details on the Trauma Assist benefit. It is a wonderful, and I strongly suggest that people make use of this service. It really gives you great peace of mind, and we have helped many of our clients with this service. All right, some really great questions have come through. So we've already spoken about how maternity leave, we've touched on now about miscarriage, what happens, the rights and on the obligation of the employer. We've also spoken about breastfeeding in the workplace, and we have also spoken about women bringing their children to work, whether your employer, you have a right to enforce that as well. Okay, moving forward, just some of the other topics that we spoke about before that came through during the week when we were posting and doing the build up to this live feed. So we touched on women abuse already. Now, is there any sort of process a woman needs to follow if they've been a victim of abuse? Meaning to say that they have to take pictures, or do you document, or do you tell someone? What is a good way to make a paper trail of these kind of things? Is there a way to do it?
Yes, I would say it's very important, because the most difficult thing to prove in court if it's my word against yours.
Correct.
Then it becomes a situation where it's my opinion in terms of what type of abuse I've experienced. The best type of abuse that you can prove is obviously physical, so it's very important for you to take pictures. If you do go to the doctor, you keep the medical records. All of that you need to keep, because that would be your supporting proof. In terms of emotional abuse, that becomes a difficult situation as well. But this is where trauma counseling comes into play.
100%.
So anything
100%.
and everything you disclose to a trauma counselor is privileged, but at the end of the day, if it becomes a situation where an expert has to give their opinion in court to say, yes, this was not only physical but also emotional abuse, then the expert would be able to support you in that instance.
Fantastic. Very important. I hope you're all taking note about that. Okay, now, Chantel, a question that comes up very often. People get very confused when it comes to marriage. And in terms of women's rights when it comes to marriage, when you get married, what's the difference between being married in community of property and out of community of property? And how would that affect somebody, the difference?
So when you get married, you get in community of property, you get out of community of property. So let me first touch on in community. It means that you and I get married, and all the good and the bad is shared. So it means that in terms of assets, any growth, that is shared between us 50-50. It does not matter if you're the one that's buying the house and paying the home loan, and I'm only contributing in terms of making it a home, cooking, cleaning. It does not matter. That's 50-50. But it also means that if you go and you buy an expensive car and now you default on that car, that debt is also shared 50-50. So it's the good and the bad. So I would recommend you to not get married in community of property. If it comes to out of community of property, it's exactly the opposite. You keep your good and your bad, I keep my good and my bad.
And it's separate.
It is separate. My assets, my income, my debt is my own, and that would be the same for you. So the remaining one is where you basically also still out of community of property, but you have an option of accrual. It's anything that accrues after the marriage. So say you have a house before getting married, you can decide to keep that separate. And once we get married, you can decide whether you want to share that house with me or not. But if you don't want to, then only anything that you buy afterwards accrues to me. And only the good, not the bad. So no debt is shared, but only in terms of growth when it comes to your pension, your salary, or your assets, anything that's good.
It's very interesting because it's not a pleasant topic to talk to your spouse about, but there are very important matters to speak about.
It is.
Because you have to bring these and you have to come to a compromise because you never know what the future could hold. You never know what could happen and what events may occur that may lead to this becoming have to be enforced.
Yes.
So unfortunately, these are necessary conversations to be had. And the great thing is that Legal&Tax, we offer advice on these matters and we can give you legal advice and help you through the process as well. All right. So it's very important that we have to, unfortunately, engage in this kind of conversation. So later on, you don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
Should negative things happen or terrible events take place.
Yeah.
All right. Really great. And just explain to me an ANC, an anti-nuptial contract.
So
How does that work?
if you get married and you don't go to attorney prior to getting married to draw up a contract, so this is again, say if we decide to get married and you coming with some assets and debt and I'm coming with some assets and debt, you're supposed to put it in a contract to make it clear in terms of what's going to happen once you are a married couple. If you don't go to an attorney to set up a contract, then automatically you're married in community of property.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
If you later on want to change the status of your marriage from in community to out of community, it becomes a very costly situation where you have to go to the high court and you have to notify all of your credit. That is legal
That
fees
sounds like a
in terms of
nightmare.
attorneys and advocate fees.
Hate for the anyone about that to happen.
So just like all the planning that you do prior to getting married, where you're going to get married, make sure you go to an attorney. You draw up a contract, which we call an anti-nuptial contract, and you decide on how you're going to get married, who's taking what into the marriage, and you can also decide on what's going to happen in the event of you getting divorced. So that contract is very important to finalize before you get married. You can't do it afterwards.
Absolutely.
It has to be at least a month or two before you get married. And these contracts you normally do at a conveyancer. So you know the attorneys who draft the title deed and they register your house.
Okay.
So you get a notary, and the conveyancers and notaries normally work together, and they will go and register your anti-nuptial agreement at the deeds office, the same place where you register your title deed for your immovable property.
Now, also another difficult topic, but it's something that does happen, unfortunately, in the working environment, is that many women are subjected to sexual harassment.
Yes.
It's common, unfortunately it's common, it does happen. What is the best way for someone to deal with it? What's the right process in terms of the law when you feel that you've been a victim of sexual harassment in the workplace?
So again, you have your rights in terms of the Criminal Act.
Okay.
It does become a tricky situation where you also have a right when you are harassed, you have an option of going to the magistrate's court and you get an interdict. So I can basically get an order to say, you're not allowed to contact me or even be near me. But when you are in an employment environment, it's very difficult to have an interdict like that because you're putting an employer in a situation like, okay, we need to keep Dylan and Chantel away from each other, but the whole floor is on one floor.
Next to impossible.
Yes. So the first thing I would do is lodge a grievance. You need to have this conversation up front with your employer. So you need to have a conversation with your employer where you basically lodge a complaint in writing. You tell your employer, this is what I've experienced and I want you to deal with it. So as soon as you lodge a grievance, you're placing an obligation on your employer to deal with it, just like any other grievance in the work environment.
Okay.
If your employer ignores it and he contributes to a situation where it becomes unbearable for you to work in the workplace, then it becomes a situation where you confer to the CCMA and If you are forced into a situation where your employer has not accommodated you in resolving that, and you have no other option but to resign because of the whole situation that he's created, then you can actually hold your employer accountable for that.
Interesting.
Because they've contributed. Just like any parent would be responsible for the conduct of their children, and employers responsible for your conduct.
Interesting way of seeing it, but I see what you're saying.
Yes, so that's on a professional level. In terms of the personal level, again, you would have to open a case at the police station. Depending on the type of harassment, whether it's physical or emotional. If it's more emotional, then the police might refer you to the magistrate's court, and this is where you'll get an
So it's very important that if it's something over emails, WhatsApp, that one must keep those
very important,
because that is the evidence they will need in that kind of situation.
Because again, it might be my opinion or my word against your word.
Correct.
Something you might say I take offense to, and I don't take it lightly, but someone else might not see it as sensitive. Okay,
fantastic. We've got a question over here. It says, what happens to an ANC, ANC standing for Anti-Nuptial Contract, not African National Congress, if you immigrate? How does it coincide with the laws in the country that you move to? Very, very good question. So many people might have got married in South Africa and they move to another country to resettle and take up an opportunity there. What happens to a contract like a marriage anti-nuptial contract? Is it binding still, or does it need to be adapted to the laws of that country that you reside in?
So the law that will always apply when you do get divorced, if you say you get married here, but you do obviously immigrate to Australia, the law that will always apply is the one where you got married or where you were domiciled. Domiciled is a legal word to say where you were permanently residing.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Interesting.
So if you do obviously go to another country, we do have certain similarities in terms of law, and we also have, if I can say it, relationships with other countries, not just in terms of how you get divorced, but also maintenance.
Wow.
So say the father is, or the mom's here in Johannesburg, this is where they got married, and she wants to divorce him and she wants to claim maintenance from him, but he's now in Australia. Okay. We have relationships with certain countries where basically you'll do the legal work here, and you'll communicate with the court or the attorney from that side. It will be an expensive process. Wow, and then they will, whatever they had to do here, they would do from that side and implement the same rules, and you'll get an order. Sometimes you also have the option where if you can't trace your husbands, we have that quite a lot, where the husband has immigrated, we can't trace them. Okay. There's a process that allows you to have a public publicized in the government gazette or your local newspaper, and then basically they call it divorce by substitution. So if you can just show to the court that you tried to trace your husband and you tried to find out where he is, and you've made it a public knowledge to the government gazette or any newspaper, you can still get your divorce order. But it becomes a difficult situation with the maintenance, because if you can't find someone to pay, then it's very difficult. But you can still get divorced.
Very, very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, just a reminder, your questions, please, we are here to answer your questions. We're here to celebrate Women's Month being August, and this is what we're here to do to help you today. All right, so we have some wonderful questions coming through. We encourage you to please send through your questions, comment, post, share the video, tell your friends about it. And if you happen to see this video later on today, and this live feed later on, and we are off air at the time, please feel free to email us at info@legal&tax.co.za, or you can send us a message via our Facebook page, or call 0860 587 587, and we'll be able to assist you further. So we've touched on some really great topics today, Chantel. We've spoken about maternity leave. We've spoken about the rights of a woman, unmarried woman. We've touched upon sexual harassment in the workplace. So the common theme that comes about is that one has to keep a paper trail of certain things, that you have to make sure that it's not your word versus somebody else, that you need to keep everything in facts and checks and balance. Now, just to touch back on, just to finish the topic in terms of sexual harassment in the workplace, when somebody does feel that they have been subjected to that, who should they speak to first? A colleague, HR? Who's the person that they need to speak to first?
So this is where you'll have to refer to your employment contract first, because almost every company makes provision for a grievance procedure. Basically, the one you would have to report to is in terms of the grievance procedure. It's mostly your supervisor or your direct manager. If the complaint is against your manager, then it would go to your HR department. So it's almost always straight to your HR department. And then, yeah, you're going to have to follow in terms of your contract. If there is no procedure, then you can phone Legal&Tax, and we'll be able to determine in terms of what environment you are working in, and then we'll be able to guide you who you can report it to.
Okay, wonderful questions. Some people are really gaining a lot from this conversation. I see some great comments coming through. Thank you to Ryan Erdang. I am so informative. I am learning so much from you guys. All right, thank you, Ryan, very much for that. Okay, if you have any other questions, please send them through. All right. Chantel, let me ask you just to go back to a topic that we spoke about already, but just to highlight one very important point.
Yes.
When it comes to maternity leave. Now, we're a growing country, we're a growing nation. Many women are having children, which is fantastic. Now, when it comes to checkups, now, are you allowed to go at how much notice do you need to give your employer? So maybe you've got an appointment set on a certain day. Do you have to give notice to your employer about it? Can they, for operational purposes, not allow you to go? What's the liability of the employer in terms of maternity leave and operations in terms of the work when you inform them that you've got an appointment?
So there's a guideline in terms of when you give notice if you go on your maternity leave, but during the whole 9-month period, that's a conversation with your employer, because it will depend on operational requirements. If you work on a shift basis, it's not going to be reasonable for me to tell you maybe an hour before I start my shift that, sorry, I cannot come in today because I had a scheduled appointment.
Okay.
You understand?
Comes down to communication.
So this will affect the relationship between you and your employer. If you know, because these checkups aren't made the day before, they're made in advance.
Correct.
So you need to communicate to keep the relationship positive between you and your employer. You need to communicate this to them. And again, like I said, you negotiate in terms of if your employer is difficult, you negotiate your time back. So you say, okay, can I come in earlier to leave later, or can I work in some overtime?
Okay.
So during your checkup stage, that is not paid time. It's not like the employer can grant you time or leave for that. Unfortunately, that's like any other appointment if you have the flu and now you have to make time to go see the doctor.
Makes perfect sense.
So it's all about communication between you and your employer.
I completely. Communicate with your employer. It's very important. Just a reminder, our website, www.legalandtax.co.za. There are many articles under the Information Hub regarding women's rights and many other topics along that nature. So please feel free to go there, www.legalandtax.co.za. Follow us on Facebook. There's many topics where we discuss different rights regarding women, regarding maternity leave, and when it comes to the rights of tenants and many other different topics that come to mind. And also just a last reminder, if you have any questions, please feel free to message us at info@legalandtax.co.za. Or alternatively, you can leave us a message on our Facebook page and we will get back to you as soon as we can. All right. Chantel, there's been some wonderful topics we spoke about. Just to recap with everybody here, we've spoken about maternity leave. We've spoken about the rights of unmarried mothers in terms of financial support from the father. We've spoken about marriage, the duty of support, maintenance after death, inheritance. We've also spoken about what it means to be married in community of property, out of community of property, how it works with an anti-nuptial contract. We've touched on breastfeeding in the workplace. People have rights. Many women have careers. They want to continue with their careers. They want to build their careers. And they don't want the birth of a new child to hold them back in any way. And the law gives them the opportunity to conduct and to be working as well. All right, we've spoken about also when it comes to women abuse and women violence, the best way to go about it, to report it, to keep a paper trail of those kind of events. Just to remind everybody that there's a wonderful organization that we work with. It's called POWER, standing for People Opposing Women Abuse. Now, what POWER does is that they take care of women who have been victims of domestic violence, and they give them a sanctuary and they give them a safe place where they can get back on their feet and they can carry on their lives. They get counseling and they get the necessary support. So we work very closely with them. We provide them with a lot of help and assistance. And if you feel that you need to make use of their service as well, you can contact POWER. And if you just go to Google and you go to Google POWA, you'll be able to find their details. All right. And we also have a wonderful benefit what comes with our services. It is called Trauma Assist. Now, Trauma Assist is a two-part service. It has the services of a trauma counselor where you can speak to a trauma counselor should you be involved in a traumatic event, and get the necessary services that way, and get the necessary help to deal with the grief and any sort of stressful situation that you're dealing with. And also, Trauma Assist offers you the services of a private ambulance. Many people, unfortunately, have been victims of an accident, and they've had to wait for a government ambulance to come fetch them, and unfortunately they come too late, or they don't come in time. So that's why we can offer you the services of a private ambulance service, and that is a really, really great service to have. All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping up here. So like I said, if you have any other questions that do come through later, please feel free to contact us. We'll pass you on to our team of legal experts. We are here to assist you and help protect you and to fight for you and to make sure that you live a far more secure life, and know that you are our companion, and we want to be your companion to make sure you'll be healthy through life's challenges, and no matter what they may be. All right. Okay, Chantel, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
I really enjoyed this. This has been great. Actually, I think we should do this more often. And we will be doing this more often. And I really do appreciate you giving up your time to help us. And just to remind you that Chantel is one of our legal advisors. She's our legal and debt manager. I am the marketing communications manager at Legal&Tax. And it's been a pleasure dealing with you today. And if you have any other questions, please come through and speak to us. We'll be happy to assist you. Thank you very much, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of Women's Month. Thank you very much.
Happy Women's Month.
Happy Women's Month. Thank you very much.